Okay, so I have spent the last several hours playing around with the electricity, or the wiring and trying to figure things out. Trying to figure out how I'm supposed to wire the breaker panel, getting it hooked up to the inverter, which was surprisingly annoying to do. The connections on the inverter were a lot smaller than I thought they would be, which was kind of annoying, but if it works, it works. So here's what I'm thinking right now. I currently have the inverter hooked up to the breaker panel, which is then hooked up to a wall outlet that I have over there. I'm thinking I'm going to hook up one of the batteries to the inverter and then see if I can charge my phone from the outlet. And if I did things right, hopefully I can, and it works. And if I did things wrong, hopefully it doesn't blow up or something. But if I can hook up my phone and get it charging, then I know it works and I can continue with doing everything else I'm planning on doing. So that's the plan. Let's go ahead and plug in this thing first. There we go. Before I connect this very last point, I'm going to do a quick test. DC voltage test should be about 13, I think. .8. Okay. So, once I connect this, power will be going to the inverter. Negative, positive to positive. Woo! Okay, I think that's normal. Forgot about that. That scared the out of me. Alright, so with the battery hooked up to the inverter now, I'm going to try to switch the inverter on. Got green. Green means power, I think. GF is ground fault, I believe, and red is like these little markers right here. This is like if some kind of breaker in here got tripped, or if it overheated and needed to turn itself off to cool down. That's what that means. Stuff like that. That's what it said in the manual, at least. I got my phone. By the way, that spark, when I connected the battery, I think is totally normal. Like if you're ever jumping a car, when you put the jumpers across the two batteries, there's a moment when you complete the circuit, there's a moment where the charge in the wire between the batteries and the batteries themselves kind of equalizes a little bit, or at least the voltage. Might be hard to explain what's really going on with the electricity, but that moment of when it sparked and made that loud pop sound, I think that's totally normal. This inverter has a little connector right there. As you can see, it's charging. Let me do that again so that pops up again. Charging. But now I want to see if I did this correctly, which means I'm going to take this and plug it in up there. Alright, next I am going to turn on the breaker that I connected to the outlet and hope I did this right. Okay, nothing exploded. That's good, that's good. Always good. It's always good when nothing explodes. Okay, at this point, I have the breaker on and the inverter on. So I think this thing should have power going to it, which means if I plug this in, it will start charging. Check it out. Do that again. Plug it in this one this time. Alright, we have power. I'm very happy right now. You have no idea how long I sat here doing absolutely nothing, just thinking about everything. So, the 110 works. I turned the inverter off and unplugged the battery because I figured there's no point leaving those plugged in right now. But I plugged in the inverter, I flipped on the breaker, the outlets work, the inverter works, all the electrical stuff works, which I'm super happy with. I'm very happy that it worked, no problems. I didn't do something wrong and have to fix it, because a little wiring mistake can, I think, cause a lot of damage. So very happy that everything works. The next thing I think I need to do is I need to start thinking about what I'm going to be doing with the ceiling, because I'm at the point where if I want to stretch wire throughout the van, I probably want to route it up and above, not like down below or anything like that, which means I need to start actually thinking about what I'm going to do with the ceiling, like how I'm going to put support up there. And I kind of know what I want it to look like, but I don't have it in my mind yet of like what support and things I need to put up there. So I need to figure that out. I doubt it'll be anything crazy. It'll probably be more like 1x4 boards or something like that. But even though it took me a lot longer to do this than I was expecting, I'm pretty happy that it just works. So pretty happy right now. It's always nice when you try something and you're new to it, but it just works. So I will catch you in the next part. Alright, so here's what I'm thinking for the next steps with the van. What I need to do is I went and picked up the countertop that I want to use for this. This is mostly just going to be here for stability and support and stuff. The actual countertop that I want sitting on this will sit on top of this. I'll have to cut out a hole for the sink again. But I have the countertop, so the next thing I need to do is work on that. But the other thing I want to get started on is, do you see these ribs going across the roof of the van? I went and picked up some 3/8 thick plywood, and I'm going to use that plywood to stretch across these ribs to form the anchoring points that I will use for the actual wood planks that I want to put across the roof to be the aesthetic roof. The plywood will basically serve the same function as these, where it'll basically be studs going across the roof that I will use to screw in the actual roof that I want to look at. Once I have those kind of roof studs in place, I think I can continue with more of the wiring. So I can put in more of these outlets that I want to put in, run some wire maybe to the pump, just kind of put in more of the general wiring that I plan on putting in. So my objective for now is put in those studs, the plywood, the ribs, and I don't know when I'm going to get started on this countertop, but I'm going to do that eventually. But my priority right now is to get started on the roof. So that's what I will do right now. One down, 3 to go. And here we are. I now have 4 of these 8-inch by 59-inch long boards cut out. I am going to take these and stretch them across these ribs, just like so. Before I'm ready to do that though, what I need to do is put rib nuts in some of these holes, like say this one for example. I need to put some rib nuts in here so that I can bolt these boards to the ribs. Putting the rib nuts in will be easy, but putting the holes in these boards to match where the rib nuts are is going to be annoying. So I'm not looking forward to doing that, but it has to be done. So, time to get started on that. I am planning on using 8 of these 5/16-18s and 8 of these 10-24 rib nuts. These are what I measured. Seems to be correct for the holes I will be connecting to. Well, that's all the rib nuts in. Now I need to measure where to cut these holes on the plywood so that I can put the bolts through them.